Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 2, Episode 6, Keep Your Enemies Closer. The episode is rated CV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode and the ones leading up to it. And yeah, another episode I absolutely loved. Really appreciated the way that we evolved some relationships, such as the ones between Oliver and Roshev, and perhaps also Felicity. I feel like there's something there. Great to see Sarah, albeit I'm sure Oliver is not enjoying the reunion. And yeah, always great to see Deadshot. And the clue that, yeah, he doesn't miss. So it was, and he was the target because of Hive. And yeah, looking forward to finding out more about that. And obviously meeting a particular character was also delightful. Yeah, I think I'll get into scene by scene. So the let's see. Actually, tell you what, I'll go with the flashback stuff first. So yeah, I thought they did a good job on the misdirect of we thought the part with prisoners don't speak. That made us think, oh, Sarah's gonna be, yeah, she's going to hurt Oliver. And then at the start of this episode, it seems like, oh, she was putting on a show because Ivo was within earshot. And yeah, then it seems like she is going to help Oliver, and then by the end we realize she was actually, and it's like, she had no choice maybe, but it still burns that she betrays him like that. And let's see. Yeah, it was very cool to get some explanation about, the Japanese, the miracle. And that does also make sense. I'm not entirely sure if exactly that sort of thing happened, but it is there is some truth to the idea that World War II, the different several different countries were trying to create something that would completely turn the tide of the war. And the they mention Manhattan before he completed his doctorate. It was that or an Oppenheimer reference, and I feel like I've done enough of those. Yeah, the let's see, then the so she, let's see, she brings him something and says if they know that we know each other, that what was it? They'll kill us both or something like that. And yeah, that's basically I think that's the clue as to why they did realize that the two of them know each other. And it was, if she didn't betray Oliver, they would kill her or torture her or something. And yeah, later, she lets him out, and the Russian is like, little help, and Oliver is like, I'll be back. And yeah, the part, on the island, the burn getting being treated, and then the thing about well, it's the the body temperature thing, which I think might be, I don't know if maybe Slade's going to be distracted now, or maybe it's going to, once they're reunited, maybe Oliver is going to pick up that there's, and become jealous. There's maybe a love triangle there, I could imagine. And let's see. Yeah, the thing about, when she cares about someone, there's nothing she won't do for them. And I think that does pretty much get us to the... So yeah, she gets Oliver into the radio room, and it's like, in retrospect, it's... Yeah. So there's the thing about, you really know what you're doing with that radio, and she says, over the last year, I've learned a lot that I didn't used to know. And he's like, well, me too. And yeah, at the time, like, it sounds like, yeah, she she is fighting to survive, and I guess in a way that is the case, but we didn't realize that she was going to betray him. And yeah, I think that might be one of the things she learned over the last year, to lie to Oliver's face. Yeah. And she does make a good point. If they kill Oliver, who's going to lead them to... I mean, she doesn't say that. That's Ivo. But yeah, she says he could still be useful, which is also like, it's possible that down the line he's going to forgive. I mean, they seem okay in the present day. So, ultimately he was able to forgive. But yeah, hearing her say that that's the only reason to spare him. And yeah, I think that does cover the right. And the thing about the give a fake name, and he goes with Tommy. Gone from the show but not forgotten. And yeah, there at the end where he calls him Oliver. Nice to meet you, Dexter Morgan. I do love those scenes where dramatically someone knows an antagonist knows the name, the real identity of, the protagonist or an important character. And yeah, I think that covers all of the flashbacks. So yeah, present day stuff. Yeah, so Roy, puts the arrow in the, to signal. And, yeah, Felicity, not the best liar. The thing about, we really need to discuss your evening plans, which, like, yeah, to Rushev, that sounds like borderline offensive. Like, you're gonna risk the company's future over going out with some, like, just evening plans. Like, it's not, like, she's thinking, like, what, like, dinner or something? Like, what are you doing, And yeah, her pointing out, okay, one meeting this week, last week it was 2. And yeah, ultimately, he right. And when Felicity, like, says, Oliver, and Rushev turns around to face her, and it's like, I'm trying so hard not to go through with my first thought here, because I really don't want to have to put the cleaning personnel through having to clean up after another, so if you could please leave right now before I do something that means you won't be able to leave without assistance. Like, just, and Felicity saying, I'm sorry to interrupt your little, and she like growls. Just wonderful. And when Oliver stands up to leave, Rushev, despite being, like, a head shorter, and, like, he's massive, or not massive, but muscly, certainly, she starts to, like, step in front of him, not quite so much that he literally can't pass her, but enough to, like, non-verbally communicate, you're not going anywhere. I'm in charge here. and just, yeah, that was really, really cool. And I did also appreciate later in the episode they do let, Summer Glau, when she's like charming and sweet, that is also some of her best work. So glad that they were able to, work that in. And as usual, like, she does such a good job of like making it feel like it is consistent with the character. Some actors are really good at, doing one or the other, but struggle a little to make both work as the same, and think that might be pretty much it for that scene. Yeah, so then Oliver goes to see Roy. So that's what that feels like. And yeah, he, sneaks up on him and says, "You're completely exposed. Pull your pants back up." And I like Roy trying to cover. "I meant to do that. I knew you were there." And he is not willing to not participate in the, such a cool action scene. I love the bit where Dig is like calling, there's, what was it, like 2 above you? Well, there were 1 on your 6. If that was also so cool, like he just fires the arrows up and we just see them drop into frame. So freaking cool. And let's see, we have the yeah, ultimately, Dig is caught by Strike Force X. Huh. How interesting. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. And let's see. Yeah. Let's go with, yeah. So and Roy, yeah, punching that one guy. Like, I'd like to make a citizen's arrest. It was worth a shot, I guess. And let's see. I think maybe the next thing is the introduction that I really loved. Amanda Waller, The Wall. And yeah, they absolutely nail it. I've read a little bit and have watched... Is that a spoiler? I guess I'll just say I've watched something else that came out after this episode first aired that also had her character. And yeah, very accurate to the the characterization I've seen in those. And stuff like how she... the detail, which I've, that's one for the fans, where she says that, Lila is someone, an asset that she is not eager to expend, because that's something you pick up about Amanda Waller. If someone is expendable, she's not necessarily gonna, move heaven and earth to bring them back. And the her use of blackmail, she like she just says, she pretty much comes out and says, "If you don't do this, I will reveal Oliver's secret," and I think that does bring us to... yeah, so the part with the with Roy in the police station. At this point I wonder if there's anyone in that police station who hasn't been arrested at least once for obstruction. And yeah, the thing about, thank you, it has been a while since I last got to arrest you. And he tells him, I'm working for him, the guy that cost you your badge? Aren't you? And, Thea shows up before he can answer. And so, yeah, we're sitting there in suspense of like, well, is he going to go through this? Yeah. And I quite appreciate, Quentin comes right out and says, our mistake, wrong place, wrong time. He was making a Die Hard. And we know that Quinn is not the biggest... Quentin, all these names, I'm sorry. Detective Lance. We know he's not the biggest fan of apologizing. So that one, it's showing how much he's willing to do to help Arrow. And it's also a good way for him to sell it to Thea, because she knows him well enough that, she believes him. It's not gonna come across as, some kind of cover. And I think that does get us to the... so Dig comes back and, he says he has to take a few days. And, he doesn't come out and ask for help, but, when he's answering, he says it's Lila. That does communicate, I mean, it wouldn't suck to get help. And the, let's see. Yeah, he's like, I can't ask you for help. You didn't. And then I guess let's go with, at Verdant, Moira comes and, the thing about optics, that is I do appreciate how the show, there are things on the show that are wonderfully comic book far out. Every so often they do have stuff where it's like, well, yeah, that's like ripped straight from the headlines. Like, there are people who were judged harshly based on like social life of, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's that thing about like perfect victim kind of thing. If there's anything that this person has ever done, then, I don't know, maybe they're guilty of, so ridiculous. So then we have the airport where, they're about to get on the plane, and then we have the arrival of Roshev. And, Felicity tries, we're going to Tahiti? That's funny. The manifest says Moscow. Well, we're going there after Tahiti. And then Roshev says, lucky that she's a fast packer, she's coming with. And it is, this thing of the ongoing conflict between them, which might lighten after this episode, but it might also become more complicated now that they slept together. But this thing of, she makes a point. You're gonna go talk to the people we work with in Russia without your partner, who owns 50% of the company. It is a pretty, and that's the thing with a cover story, someone might believe it. And I think that does pretty well get us to the so then let's see, I guess the next thing is them getting to Russia. Have to say, Summer Glau rocking the Russian wardrobe, like fantastic. Really, really, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's that thing of like, if the character every so often goes to Russia, she would have clothes that where she fits right in like that. So yeah. And let's see, um I guess that gets us all the way to Russia, in fact. um it was also very cool seeing a little bit of Russia in the, yeah, the exterior, the establishing shots and such. And yeah, so they arrive there, and I love Felicity being like, "You're gonna leave me with her? Can I just like, can we go back to the part where I'm like being shot at, or having explosives strapped to me or something? Like I like that better." And yeah, it's such a great transition when there's the thing about like they're gonna go drink with the Russian from the boat, and Felicity says, "I could go for a drink," and then it cuts back to Verdant. So if you were in America, you could be having a drink right now, Felicity. And yeah, the breaks up with Roy, and I'm so glad that they're back together by the end of the episode. I really love Moira forbidding Thea not to see Roy. I so appreciate the times where we get like positive relationships between characters, because like it would just get exhausting if everything was as dark as it sometimes gets in the show. I love the darkness, but it definitely, for this kind of thing, I think it's important to temper with something. And I forget exactly when in the episode. I think it might be early, so let's go over it now. Yeah, there's some talk about a particle accelerator, and the yeah, someone talks about like, I don't think people understand how dangerous this is. This could expand the Arrowverse. And yeah, very very cool interactions between, so they go to the bar, and the thing about, my favorite American, I do not know you. There are two Americans I trust. One of them's Oliver, the other one's you. I will say, I'm not like an expert on Russia, but my father is, and he talks about it. It is, there's a lot of accuracy here. The yeah, on the positives, yeah, there are a number of Russians who are, ridiculously friendly and warm people. You do also have the government corruption and the horrible prisons. Yes, even today, that did not stop when the wall fell, and the Soviet Union split up. I think that does get us to, yeah, I appreciate the point about like, Dig is like, I'm not drinking, which like, you can understand, because like if he's gonna go on this mission. But yeah, that is, if you're trying to be friendly with a Russian and he wants you to drink, it might be a good idea, if you feel you can trust him, obviously, but otherwise not. But yeah, then it is important to them. And I think that does get us to the yeah, I guess I will just briefly a couple more things about, so yeah, Thea breaks up, and yeah, later he points out, why didn't you just tell me the truth, and the um, which is again interesting because he's still keeping a secret. I have a feeling it's going to end up, she's going to realize that he's been lying and at the same time telling her to tell him the truth. And yeah, the thing about, I haven't had a scratch on me for weeks other than the ones you leave. I mean, I guess we kind of already knew that. I Yeah, and let's see. I think that does pretty much. Yeah. So and Roshev thinking that Oliver is yeah, sleeping with Felicity, which that would be what it looks like. And yeah, I like the thing about, does everyone really think that I'm sleeping with Felicity? No, not everyone. Just everyone who works at Queen Consolidated. Summer Glau is so good at snarkastic line delivery. Just, yeah. And I also quite like the them talking about, like, well, okay, so Lila's in this prison. Why? She said something about her brother being on death row for a murder he didn't commit, and so she tattooed the plans of the prison. And yeah, I liked him, saying it's a terrible prison full of murderers and psychopaths, and that's just the guards. And the conversation between Oliver and Roshev, she is lonely. And this thing about how, the thing of, yeah, why do you try to make me think that you are, this, yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, if someone is a very good judge of character, it can be extremely difficult to hide, from them if they spend enough time observing you. And yeah, and also, she learned too late to fake a smile. I think I need to cool it a little bit on the Dark Knight trilogy references. It just lends itself so well to them. Anyway, yes, so the yeah, and him speaking Russian to her. And the thing about, I especially like the moment where it turns, where he a drink is brought over and he's like, I only ordered one. And she's like, one's for me. And, downs it in one, turns over the glass and says, another. Lucky she didn't smash the glass. And yeah, immediately we know, oh, okay, she's not 100% all business every second of every day. And yeah, so they do end up sleeping together. And I like the thing about, I do have to be somewhere else. And she's like, I'll be quick. And yeah, so I quite appreciated them going over how they go over the plan. And I think it's maybe Felicity who points out, are we really sure we can't come up with a better plan? And it is, they do a good job of explaining why it is so risky, and that's the best that they can really work out. Because, like, yeah, if it would be really, really difficult if Oliver were the one in there, And let's see. Yeah. Then we have the yeah. So Felicity comes to the door. Are you ready? And Rushev says, I think she can have the night off, because like, yeah, she still thinks that this is, like she might think at least a little higher of him, but she's still thinking like, you know, that's why Felicity, she doesn't look like his cousin. And let's see. Yeah. Felicity tries to put on a brave face. What happens in Russia stays in Russia, but she does care. And the next time she brings it up, he's like, I thought it was stay in Russia. And she's like, we're still in Russia. But later she also brings it up in America. And yeah, her saying, I think you deserve better. I think she has a very specific person in mind that he should be with. And it's not herself. And I do also feel like they've done a good job of, it's one of those things where if that relationship had started like immediately, it would have felt a little forced, but it's the kind of, I guess, slow burn romance is the term. They've spent so much time together, and he's saved her life. She has really come through. She saved his life. Um, Sometimes there's physical contact by nature of what they do. At first she didn't agree with what he did, but now she does. So these are things that can, be part of a relationship. Yeah. I think that pretty much, let's see. Yeah, the thing about the jacket, they'll take it from you, but that's the point. And yeah, how the inmate, his cellmate, is there for, speaking out against government corruption, and that is true. Like there are more than a few people like that in Russian prisons to this day. And I guess, yeah, the thing about how the anti-black racism, which also accurate, and I thought they did a great job on the actual fight, because we've just had the thing about, oh yeah, the guard you need, he's right over there. So like in our minds, oh, he's gonna go over there, talk to the guy, and that's how the mission's gonna proceed. But instead, this like gang shows up, and he says, are we really gonna do this? And like, again, we're thinking, oh, he's gonna like talk his way out of it, because he is like, he's not a character who feels the need to just fight every second, and then like someone says, yes we are, and immediately hits him, so it's like someone, I forget if it was the same person, but yeah, very nicely done on that expectation subversion. And yeah, he's the one being punished, not the person who started the fight. And he broke that guy's leg, like holy crap. And yeah, and the torture, yeah, 6 hours in there, that can do a lot of harm to a human body, and stuff like that does happen there. And the guards themselves also acting on racism. Let's see. Yeah, I think that does get us to, yeah. So he gets locked up, and Deadshot is right there, and the way that, yeah, like Dig can just barely contain himself, and yeah, so the guard does get Dig out of there. And let's see, I guess that brings us to the, yeah, let's take a brief break from the break, And yeah, so the actual the thing about they'll sell us a Russian police vehicle, which looks almost as militarized as American big city police. So yeah, and I think that does get us to the so they're about to shoot, which is, of course, that's the thing with corruption. Like, how can you be sure that the other person's going to go through with it and not just, take the money? And right, that was also cool earlier with the, trying to buy the what are those called again? The forgery, the things for forging money, and yeah, Oliver fires an arrow at it and goes up in smoke. 'Twas ill-gotten gains to begin with. I should watch that again. It's been too long since I watched any press start. But Oliver just leans into the guy and whispers something in Russian that does not get translated to English. And, the guy is like terrified. And he signals to, he hands over the keys, and, Phyllis is like, "What'd you say? Please?" I don't think he said please. And I think that gets us to the part with yeah. So so the escape itself. Can I just say, prison break scenes on this show really agrees with it. Just every single time, it's so good. And so she suddenly the guard falls over dead, icicle to the back of the head, and Deadshot is right there. And just, very, very clever, because like he is dangerous, but is he dangerous to dig though? Because he does need, or right now, I mean, he does need extraction, and it's it helps, among other things. It means that Dig now needs him, because how else is he going to find Lila in time without the guard? And again, Deadshot being wonderfully, ridiculously capable, and getting out of the handcuffs and all. And we have that thing about how he's one of a number of comic book characters who they can turn anything into a weapon, and yeah, it's just really, really cool to see. The it's also because it's almost it's this guerrilla combat thing. He turned the thing that was supposed to harm him into a deadly weapon that he could use against someone else. And yeah, the thing about if I tell you Lila's in there, what's to keep you from killing me? Honor. You should try it sometime. And the thing about I guess you'd prefer if you were the one with the gun, huh? I mean, Floyd, there's two kinds of people in this world: the one with the gun, and the one who shows the guy with the gun where Lila is being kept. And yeah, the thing about careful, Deadshot's in the prison. Yeah, that he knows. And let's see. Yeah, so they, the thing about, so do you have an extraction? Depends on what time it is. And and I love that the guard, see, it wouldn't have hit so hard for him and the others if they weren't stealing the property of the prisoners. If like hypothetically that jacket could have only affected one person, the person working in that area, but instead one guard puts it on and is showing off to all the others, and we just get that classic little thing of it's like glowing red and blinking and beeping and explosion, and just yeah, really really cool as they fight their way out. And Oliver joins in and has to duck as some are shot, and yeah, really really cool. And I think that does get us to the yeah, they get into right. Also appreciate the economic storytelling. As soon as they're out of the prison, like it's very very little time before the people who left America to go to Russia are just back in America, because like we don't need to see a bunch of stuff there. The exciting part was seeing them go to Russia and have to deal with these situations there. And yeah, let's see, the part where the let's see, I guess that does pretty much cover. Let's see, there's at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say about this. Let's see, where were we? So they, right, Lila, she was always the exception. And yeah, that is also, it's great to see them together like that. And I like the thing about, let Waller stew. There's a list of people in comic books that you really don't want to make your enemy, and Amanda Waller is like top of that list. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, the little detail about well, if you make blueberry pancakes, you'll talk me into it. So like yeah, when they were together, he would make breakfast, and she's missed his breakfast. It's wonderful. Maybe I say it too much, but I do think it's great when men are willing to cook for others, including their female partner or the like. It's just, yeah, it's great when you are able to do something for someone else. And yeah, so he doesn't tell her that he is looking into Hive, and that is also something I worry might negatively impact the relationship. And yeah, I think that covers the entire episode. I like the detail that Oliver, the first person he tries to contact on the radio is Shadow, and he speaks Mandarin to her. I believe that's Mandarin. The subtitles just say speaking Chinese. I am aware that Mandarin is not the only language there. And then when she doesn't answer, he thinks, oh, maybe Slade. And so he just speaks in English and says that name, and that is, of course, how they know, there's two of them. They're both still alive. And there's only two of them. And I think that does cover... I feel like there's something... Yeah, I like that Oliver is willing to talk to Roshev about, last night, and she says she doesn't think anything needs saying. And it's one of those things, on the one hand, there are people who can make something like that work, who can have, a one-night stand and then just let it be that. But there are also people who think they can, and they end up, yeah, it can complicate things. They're still, when it comes to, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it complicates matters. Also because, like, Felicity still has to work alongside both of them, and now, Oliver knows that she has feelings for him, and Roshev thinks that they are already sleeping together, and just, yeah. And it's let's see. What was the other thing that I wanted to say about that? Fantastic acting. Throughout the episode, I thought that Sarah and Dig both do so well at communicating a lot with just their face. The complex emotion of the situation they're dealing with. Right. And when Dr. Ivo thinks, well, we no longer need Oliver, the Haitian's about to remove Oliver's memories of recent events, but because he doesn't appear to have superpowers on this show, he's going to use a bullet instead. And that was also, the callback to, let's see how well you remove it from your forehead. Because he did, do fine on removing it from his torso, so yeah. Oh, I think I forgot to call out, so there was a reference to Metamorpho in one of these episodes. Not this one, I don't think, but that was cool. And I guess I guess I'll just briefly note, I am aware the Supergirl teaser is out. I don't really tend to do too much talking about, like, trailers and such. But I am really looking forward to that. In general, James Gunn's DCU is. I am very excited, and I think that might pretty much cover. Let's see. Was there maybe one more thing? I did also quite appreciate the way, like with Floyd, like, we're used to seeing him be just kind of the worst. And here, well, Dig helped him escape. Like, he could have executed him. It looked like he was gonna. And he chooses not to. And the thing about, what's the thing about honor? Just turn it on and off. Yeah, because it's not like IT. Like, what do you mean? And so he tells him, Hive told me to shoot Andy. Which, that's not the kind of thing he would normally, divulge this sort of information. But, yeah, he was told to try honor. So he did. And, yeah, I think, love the way that it was shot when Waller, the way that the camera pans up her. Not like in a male gazy way, but just like, this is important kind of thing. It was very spaghetti western, honestly. It reminded me of, like, the stranger enters the bar kind of thing. It's just saloon. I know it's called a saloon. I don't know why I said bar. And yes, the yeah. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with the relationship between Felicity, Oliver, and Roshev. Because it can really complicate things that Oliver and Roshev, they own equally much of the company, so it can get complicated. It's like, imagine if you had 50 coins and you threw them in the air 50 times. 50? 50.